Hi everyone, this is Sumit K. Today's videos, we will discuss Google Cloud Code with Kubernetes Engine. In my last video, we have covered and successfully deployed a sample application on Cloud Run Service. We also see how to deploy the sample application on the Minikube cluster or local, and how you can debug it, and how this Google Cloud Code will automatically redeploy your application on instant changes. So we have seen that, right? Let's start it from the definitions of the Google Cloud Code. So for those of you building application deployed as containers on Kubernetes, such as GKE or to the Cloud Run, and would like to spend more time writing the code instead of YAML config files, then you should really try the Cloud Code. Now, Cloud Code is a set of IDE extensions for VS Code and IntelliJ, and there are multiple IDEs as well that let you rapidly iterate and debug and deploy code to the container runtime, such as Cloud Run, GKE, uh, right? So, under the covers, it uses a popular tool such as Skaffold, Minikube. If you don't have a Minikube, then the Docker desktop is fine, and obviously kubectl to provide you with continuous feedback, right? Inside your code editor. So if you are building and pushing and deploying a container native application to the Kubernetes or Cloud Run, right, and then you also want to debug this locally or to your Kubernetes cluster, and then what happened that it is this is a task that is quite cumbersome and hectic. So Google Cloud Code will help you to build your code, and then deploy your the debug your clusters and services, and then auto redeploy on the code changes. And you can also explore the other cloud APIs. Let's say you want to explore compute engine or database with your container application, then you can enable it from your IDE. Okay, basically, the CI/CD, what stage of CI/CD you are aiming? The cloud build lets you decouple the build and deploy the process from your development tools using a fully managed platform that executes your build on Google Cloud Platform infrastructure. So this is done using a build config file. I'll show you how these build config files are created. I already shown this in my previous video. I'll show you again here. So let's do one thing. Let's quickly deploy our sample application onto the Kubernetes cluster. So let me open my Google Cloud Console first. So here, this I'm already logged into my GCP console, and right now I have no cluster. I will create this cluster from the code cloud code, and let's see this in action. So this is my IDE. Okay. So let me just start it from the scratch. So I'm gonna use a new application, Kubernetes application, and here I'm going to deploy a Python Flask, and I'm gonna say this. Python demo, and behind the scene, the code cloud is going to copy this sample application source code into your directory. Okay, so this is your source code, and this is the design. This is a sample application in the Kubernetes architecture. So in the Kubernetes cluster, what you're going to achieve is basically you're going to create three different deployment. You can see that the Python guestbook front end, the back end, and this MongoDB. So once you hit from your local web browser or from the outside, you're gonna hit this front end, and this front end service is gonna direct the service to the front end parts, and then front end parts is going to talk to the back end parts, and the back end part is having this data persistence on the Mongo database, and is going to write the data onto this database. So all this thing, right? As a developer, do you think that it is very? I mean, do you think you can handle this? These complex YAML files on the and then the Kubernetes configuration. It is very difficult, right? So with this code, you can deploy your application without worrying about these underlying infrastructures and all this complex configurations. So if you see, this is the directory configuration. If you want to read, you can read it, right? So let's do one thing. Let's build it. So here you can, in the source image I have this front end source, and then you have back end. In the front end already I have this source code, and the source, this application is already dockerized, the front end and the back end. And this is the one I'm talking about, Scaffold, which is basically the guestbook app is configured by the Scaffold module. So Scaffold modules is is working behind the scenes to deploy or build your applications. Okay. Now let's go ahead and deploy this application. And this is your cloud code. You can see this icon here. Just go here, and if I just expand this Kubernetes. Okay, so I have Docker desktop, and this one. So why? So let me deploy this. Let me deploy this application to the Docker desktop, which is Docker desktop is basically running my container application, as well as the mini Kubernetes engine is also running within the Docker desktop. So do one thing. Let me just remove this one first, because this is my Kubernetes cluster. Okay, still active. Set as active cluster. So here in Kubernetes, right in the Kubernetes section, you will see your clusters, right? Whether you want to deploy your application in the local, the Docker desktop, or you want to deploy onto this cluster, maybe on your Google Cloud GKE. So right now it is the Kubernetes GKE cluster is showing not active or red, because I already deleted this, but I'll show you. Let me remove this so that you can you won't get confused. So right now my Docker desktop is active. If you don't know why, how this Docker desktop is come here, let's simply you know um, you need to install this Docker desktop on your machine. And here, if you see the containers, I mean, behind the scene Google Cloud code, working, integrated with this Docker desktop, and use the Kubernetes or Minikube, you can say the Kubernetes engine from your local machine, from this Docker desktop. And here you can see that it is already, it's not running. You might need to run this. Okay, so now do one thing. If you are seeing this development session, we need to just run on Kubernetes, or you can go to my project and simply say run on Kubernetes. And here you need to select run on Kubernetes. So whatever cluster is showing active, this application is going to deploy onto that cluster. Click on yes. Just scroll down, and here you can see that this is your cluster, and you'll see all these Kubernetes objects like deployment pods, ingress. So you will see that in a moment. It is still building. See, your three pods are ready. These pods, Python front end, I mean, Python guestbook front end, then back end, and then the MongoDB. Now see the deployment. Your three deployments are being created, and now you can see the services. This is your cluster IP, basically. Still see all the details, right? You don't need to go and check into the Docker desktop. You can find it here. So behind the scene, you'll see all this, containers are deploying here in the Docker desktop. So you can see that Python guest book backend. We find it here. Yeah, it's there, right? This is a container. I cannot the port name. Let's go to here. And if you want to see the status here, you can also see the status here. So here is starting to deploy deployment, and here you can see that all this setup pod and deployment has been completed. And this is your front end and back end, all these services. If you want to hit this front end, let's just try to hit the front end and see your application has been deployed. So here is the status, right? I mean, if you see here, everything has been deployed. Your build containers, then deploy to containers, then yes, this is forwarding and this services. So even if you want to hit your front end from the services, you can just simply click on this open URL, and you can see that. Let's put anything. Hi everyone, this is a sample guestbook application. If I go to my IDE, So here you can see that. Let me, okay, let me just, okay. If you want to see, the logs, then you can also see the logs here. Let's say, so this is your streaming logs. Basically, let's say if you want to have, where is that? So here, just minimize it. Okay, here is the deployments and pods, all these things. So if you want, you can have, see, you can see that there is the logs. See, this is your front end, the back end logs, and this is your front end logs. You can see, and just explore this. So you'll see all the logs, and in the services, if you try to hit the back end, it would not work because only the front end is exposed. If you just come here, oh, where is that deployed? Okay, maybe you come into the Kubernetes and in this service. So only this front end is now exposed as a load balancer. You can see that, right? And the rest of the services are the cluster IP, right? So this is how you can, if you want to see the logs, or you want to see the details log, you can see that. Okay, so if you want to see the detailed logs, you can also, I mean, detailed information, then you can also just click on this run on Kubernetes and you'll see all this information. All right, so now go to the, if you want to just log into your, I mean, into your container, you can also log into your container by clicking this get terminal. So right now you are into your container, right? So if you want to do some debugging or anything, you can also do that. Just exit it, right? So this is how you can, I mean, explore this. Now, since your application is running, and since your this application is running and everything is hitting, is working as expected. Now, what you want to do? You want to now deploy this application, and you want to deploy this application onto the production, onto the Google Cloud Kubernetes cluster, instead of your local cluster. So, what would you do? You'll see this option here. So, you are going to stop this. Yes, clean up. And now if you see here, development process, it's saying stop. So here you can see it has stopped and it's finished the cleanup part, right? So if you now try to hit your URL, it won't work. See, and even if you see your Docker engine, it will be, see, all these spots are now going down, right? Because I have stopped my local cluster, or stopped this application running onto my local cluster. And see that, right? It is going down. All right. Now, what else we can do? Let's say, um, I had this Docker desktop. Now, what I want to do, I want to deploy the same application onto my GKE. So, what you're gonna do? You basically going to your Google Cloud Console, and then in the cluster, and then you're going to create the Kubernetes cluster, right? But if you want, you can deploy your Kubernetes cluster from here in your IDs. You can just go over to the Kubernetes, and there is a plus sign. Just click on this, and click on the Google Kubernetes Engine. And here I need to create a new cluster. Just cancel this, and autopilot or standard. So I'm gonna say, let's say autopilot. Oh, why it is saying to, okay? No, it's not like that. Let me create again Kubernetes cluster. Create a new cluster. This is something wrong. Earlier I was getting this option here. I don't know. Why I'm not getting this option here? Do you want code to open the external? If I say cancel, it's not showing here. Set up a GKE. There is some problem. I don't know why it is not showing here. All right, so let's do one thing. Let's create a cluster from here. So I'll do one thing. I'm going to create a cluster because creating a cluster takes a time. Sometime it takes 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to stop my recording and then I'll come back once my cluster is up and running. All right, so my cluster is up and running. Now I'm going to deploy my application. So this is my cluster name, cluster one. Location is US Central. The number of nodes are two. And here is the resource, right? So right now you can see that if you see on the workload, there is no workload, no services. I mean, no workloads here. If you see the services and ingress, there is no service or ingress is there. So we are going to deploy it from our IDE using the cloud code. So here you need to deploy this application to this time we are going to deploy it onto the GKE cluster, not onto the local one. So here the local one is showing inactive, and this is the one my this is the cluster that is already reflecting here. If you don't see, you just need to click on this plus part and select the Kubernetes engine, and your cluster will be displayed like this. So you just select your existing cluster, and then the cluster will be displaying in your under your Kubernetes. It's simple, right? Now I'm going to deploy. You can deploy it from here, or maybe you can deploy it from here. Run on Kubernetes, and meanwhile, I'm gonna show this uh, detailed information. So you can see that the scaffold is doing their work, right? Now it is building the container. You can see that. So it's gonna take a few minutes. So now it has tagged your images for this front end and back end. And now it is starting to deploy your deployments. Front end created, back end has been created, MongoDB has been created. So you can see that this nice detailed information is giving a very nice view, right? You can see whatever is happening during your deployment, application deployment. You can see like behind the scene, you can see every information, right? Now this port forwarding has been happened. You can see that, and now it is doing some creating some streaming logs for the pod. So everything, I mean, everything is in your IDE, right? So this is for developer. IDE is the world for them, right? They don't want to go out from the IDE. Everything is there, is here. So it's good for developer to go from here to there from the IDE from just one click. And okay, services are deployed. So let's try to see on Google Cloud Console. Now refresh it. So you can see that, right? The services are created for your front end, back end, and MongoDB, similar to what we have done onto our local cluster. But this time it is exposed to our external load balancer. So let's click on this, and here is your application is running to the public world. And see here, Sumit, the cloud Baba, right? So this is the beauty of Google Cloud Code. And if you just see your workloads, the pods are, just refresh it, and you can see your all three pods, right? And if you want to just observe your pod, you can also observe it from here. But for the developer, like you can have the same functionality here. So let's say you want to go to this is so under your default namespace. Every Kubernetes object are deployed into the default namespace or whatever namespace that you want to desire. So here in my pods, if you want to see the logs, so you can see here, view the logs. You can see here all these logs similar to that. And this is your application logs, basically application detailed information. If you see from here, streaming application logs. So if I try to hit this application one more time from the different console, and if you just see here, see you are getting all this information display, right? The 201, which means your application is accessible over the internet. That's why it is printing 200. And similarly, if you want to log into your container, you can do that. One more thing that I wanted to show you, even if you want to, let's say, go to the deployment and front end, and let's say if you want to increase the replica of your containers. So right now it is running one pod, right? The front end, even if the back end is also running the one replica. So you can just do that from here. Let's say so here it'll show you the YAML file. Can I? Okay, so it is taking me here. Where is the replica? Where is the replica? Let me search replica. Okay, so let's say I want to do it too. And the moment I save it, it will automatically, trigger. If you let's see here, status. Do I see anything here? Okay, relaunching this application. So let me just see. I think it's still doing. I did change this, right? So I change this. I save this. Okay, this is the one. Okay, let me go to here. Let me see. Refresh it. Oh, still not deployed. Why it is not deployed? Current replica, desired replica. So I want my desired replica. Replica must be okay. So let's say two. Oh, now it is being updated. You can see that here. Now the desired replica to. So you don't need to update the YAMLs as well, right? So because for the developer, looking at the YAMLs and all these things is pretty complicated. So what you simply do, just click on the desired replica. This pencil icon is now everywhere. You can see that. So sorry, not everywhere. Where you want to just update. So just click on this, update it, and you will get this desired replica. Now, if you want to see in your cloud console and refresh it, you can see that this is the front end, and in the front end we have 2 by 2, which means two pods. So life is pretty easy with the cloud code, and there are a lot of things. Let's see one more demo here. Let's see. I mean, not the demo. I'm going to show you how it auto automatically deploying your application when you do some changes. So let's say in the home HTML, what I am going to do. Uh, let's see my guest book. Um, my guest book world. Okay, now save it. The moment you save it, you see, just see that this build started for artifact Python guest front end. It automatically restarted because I did the changes in the front end, right? So now what happened? Let's see. Build completed. Now deployment started. I think it's going to kill the old containers, and it's going to deploy the new one. See that deployment front end status updated. So deployment is completed. Okay, now you try to hit this application, you will see some changes. See my guest book world. So which means what I'm saying, that you are not doing anything, right? Whatever changes you are doing to your application, you are not going to uh, s- uh, do any changes into your infrastructure configuration, right? not into your Kubernetes YAML. Even for the for the deployment replica, it is pretty easy to update, right? So many things to explore with the cloud code. So I would recommend you to go through the official documentation, because there are a lot more samples and use case are there, so you can explore it. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching it. Have a nice day. Bye bye.